Hey guys, welcome back. It's been a minute. Let's talk about the books that I read during the month of May. So here are my statistics for the month of May. I only read 5 books, but I feel like my page count, I in the moment have not looked at the statistics for this month, but I feel like the page count's probably going to be similar to previous months. Editing me will tell you if I'm wrong. Anyways, I only read 5 books, but 2 of them are a little chunky. 2 of them may have been, I don't know, I read the ebook, so I, off of the top of my head, don't know how many pages it was. Me and my friend Alana have pretty much gotten to the point where we have one buddy read a month, and last month I chose the book, and I chose What the River Knows because it was on Kindle Unlimited, so we both were able to access it without having to buy the book. And also I was just in the mood for something similar to The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love, that like cozy historical action adventure vibe from that. And there were 2 options that I had, but that one, like I said, was on Kindle Unlimited, so that's the one we picked. In this book, it's a duology. I did read the first and the second book. The second book is Where the Library Hides, I think. So first of all, What the River Knows. My Goodreads says I gave this 4 stars. I actually think it's like a 3.5. This book is young adult historical fantasy, and in this there is a girl who, I think she's actually like 19 if I remember correctly. Anyways, her parents all the time are going to Egypt on these like archaeological digs and things like that. And so her parents are going to Egypt and leaving her for like months at a time, and they've been doing that since she was a baby. And she keeps asking if she can go, and finally she gets a letter from, she thinks it's from them, but actually it's saying that her parents have passed away. And so she ends up going to Egypt to figure out what happened to them. And along the way, she realizes that her parents are not the people that she thought that they were, that there is a little bit of a mystery surrounding how they died, and she wants to figure it out. She wants to see, did they die? If so, how? You know, why are they lost? There's no bodies, you know, that sort of thing. So she is going to figure out what happened to her parents. There is a romance plot through this duology. It's not my favorite. First of all, again, these 2 books are young adult, and it was kind of hard to tell that it was young adult because there were some graphic things that happened between the 2 books. In the first book, there is a little bit of a gory scene, I guess you could say. I mean, it wasn't very gory, but you know, somebody gets like, and it, you know, it's okay, young adult book. Now in the second book, Where the Library Hides, which I also gave 3.5 stars, there is some like light spice in that one, but it's not 100% fade to black. it is between a married couple, so there is that, but between the two books there's like I said, some light spicy scenes, alcoholism, murder, just things that I wouldn't necessarily expect in a young adult novel. And so at times I was like, is this young adult? Is it not? And it I think it is. So anyways, they did not quite give that vibe that I was looking for. They were okay. I did really enjoy the Egypt aspect of it, but there is also a fantasy element to it because there are like magic touched objects, and the plot line between these two books is that the character touched a magic touched object that helped her to see things from Cleopatra's past. She's like seeing some of Cleopatra's memories. And Cleopatra is one of my favorite figures from Egypt to learn about. I actually wanted to be an Egyptologist at one point in time, but I hate being outside in the heat, so that probably wouldn't have panned out anyways. But still, I grew up watching ancient Egypt documentaries with my family. That was just one of the shared interests that we had, and so that aspect of the books I did really enjoy, which is why they were like 3.5, and I did round it up on Goodreads to a 4. Even though the actual like book itself is very much a 3, it's very, it's okay. So anyways, moving on. The next book that I read, these are also not necessarily in order, but I read a duology, and then I also read 2 other books that are in a series, so I'm kind of just going a little bit out of order. The reason I'm going to do this one next is because this is also a young adult book, and it is also fantasy. This is A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking, and I thought this was really cute. So again, this is young adult. However, I would say that this is probably maybe for more middle grades to teenage kids, if you are going to let your kids read it. I would let my son read this. He has actually asked me if he could read this, and I told him yes. In the very, very beginning, the main character, Mona, comes across a murdered girl in her aunt's bakery. And, she's like pulled in for questioning. There's this whole thing. She like goes to trial for it, but she is, released because there's, she didn't do it, and there's no evidence to say that she did. But there ends up being this like plot that's kind of going on in the background, and the people in this book that can do magic, they're called magicas. They are being targeted by I think it's the Spring Green Man, so like this assassin that is targeting people that can use magic. So there are only certain people that can use magic, and then they only have like a certain skill. For example, Mona, her magic only works with like baked goods and things like that are associated with that. So for example, there is a murderous sourdough starter. So that was kind of cute, that the sourdough starter is like alive, and it can like burn you and try to eat you. She also can bring the gingerbread men to life that she makes. She just normally brings them to life, and they dance for customers and things like that. But she does have one that ends up like becoming her familiar. It was like a very specific thing is like what they can do. And there are wizards that work for the Duchess. So they're, like protecting the city or whatever. So basically like a part of the military. Well, they end up being called away because there's this group of people that are coming in and invading, and, they're going to meet them. And that is all part of the plot, because then the city ends up totally defenseless, and Mona is the only person that can protect the city, and her magic only works with baked goods. And so that ends up kind of creating a little bit of an interesting situation. And Mona is also only 14. It talks in there about how, everybody's talking about how she is a hero, and she's like, I'm a kid. I shouldn't have had to be a hero. The adults that were in charge and should have been looking out for me and our town, they should have taken care of this before I had to be a hero. And I just thought that was, a very good theme to explore in here. And the fact that a lot of times, like, people that are heroes shouldn't have had to have been, if like society and people did the things that they were supposed to do. There wouldn't have been a situation where you needed to have a hero. I thought that was pretty interesting. So I gave this book 4 stars. I think it was good for what it is. It is a young adult novel, so if you do not like reading books where the characters are children, you will probably not like this. And now on to my favorite reads of the month. I read The Gate of the Feral Gods and The Butcher's Masquerade. So this is book 4 and book 5 in the Dungeon Crawler Carl series. So again, it's been a minute, and I've actually finished the 6th one since I've read these. So let me go back. The book 4, they are on, I believe, the 5th floor. Yes, the 5th floor. If you have not been following my monthly wrap-ups, and or you have never heard of the Dungeon Crawler Carl series, in this series, at the very beginning, book 1, Earth is invaded by aliens, and like in an instant they smush all of the like structures on Earth down into Earth, and it rearranges itself into an 18-floor dungeon. And the surviving people on Earth, so anybody that was not inside a building when this occurred, has the option that they can either go into the dungeon and try to make it, as far as possible, if not to the 18th floor, where if they do get to the 18th floor, they win control of their planet back. They can leave the dungeon once they get to a certain point, and there's different rules and things as far as that goes. But book 4, they are now on level 5, and on the 5th level they are put into these little like bubble worlds. So all of the remaining crawlers are randomly placed into these bubbles, and inside the bubble there are 4 quadrants. So it was like the desert, the sea, the air, and something else like tombs or something. Anyways, in order to escape your bubble, you have to secure all 4 castles in all 4 of those quadrants. And so in this one, you meet some new characters, of course, because they're put in a bubble with people that they have never met before. And of course, they are placed in the bubble with people that do not have the same level of experience that they have. So they're basically like having to pull their weight too, kind of snap them out of, you know, what they've got going on. So we did meet some new characters in this one that I really enjoyed reading about. This one, it kind of was giving like, I don't know, like Mario or Legend of Zelda or something, like where you have to go and claim the castle or whatever. And the Gate of the Feral Gods is a artifact that's like part of this backstory on this floor, because each of the floors have like their own little like story that goes along with it. So the Gate of the Feral Gods was a artifact that they did end up finding. However, it created just a little bit of chaos, as Carl tends to do. Now, oh, and of course, I gave this 5 stars. You should know this by now. Then you had the Butcher's Masquerade. So this book 5, they are on the 6th floor. And the 3rd, 6th, and 9th floors all follow this one storyline. So in the 3rd floor, it was like this city. Well, in the 6th floor, it's like jungle. And at the end of the 6th floor, all of the top crawlers are invited to the Butcher's Masquerade, which is literally a party. And so they don't like want to go, because they're like, obviously they're gonna pull some crap, you know, at the end of this. But there was a character that Carl met on the 3rd floor, and her storyline is continuing on this floor as well. And so they're trying to help her. Also on this floor, people, well, aliens, they can actually join the game as hunters, and then they can hunt the crawlers. And of course the crawlers can try to kill the hunters as well. And so then there's like a prize thing at the Butcher's Masquerade, where it's like you get like some kind of a token every time. If you're a hunter, you're killing crawlers, and if you're a crawler, you're killing hunters, and you get like this little token every time you kill one, and you can exchange them for prizes. There's also a giant dinosaur that just wanted to dance in here. So that was pretty funny. Again, 5 stars. I love this series. If I had to say that I had one complaint about this book, it is that as a diehard, lifelong NXS fan, I could do without all of the Oasis references. Okay. However, having said that, Donut's version of Wonderwall at the end, that was pretty good. So kudos for that. If you are not listening to these books on audio, you should do that. So these are books I tandem read. I read the physical book while I'm listening to the audio book, because it's a whole experience. So anyways, yeah, I think that would be the one complaint that I have so far, is that I don't like Oasis. I am super excited that they are possibly turning this into a TV show. out of all of the announcements for things that they're buying rights to and they're making a TV show or whatever, this is what I'm most excited for, because from the time I read book 1, I was like, this would be a perfect, like, Adult Swim style cartoon. Although I think live action will be great too. Either way, these definitely need to be adapted where more people can enjoy this story. I know some people are not readers, especially like reading these big old chunky books. But this story, I even told my husband, like, you need to listen to the audiobooks. And my husband is not a reader. But I told him, it's like, you just need to listen to the audiobooks because it is just hilarious. You would love it. That is it for everything that I read in May. We're already halfway through June, so I'll be seeing you again soon to tell you everything that I read in the month of June. I hope you enjoyed this wrap up, and I will see you again soon. I'm about to film my book haul for May as well, so I will see you in that soon. Bye, guys.